She didn't cheat for love, she cheated for genes. In secret, she paid $60,000 to ensure her child had superior DNA from another man. Her husband believed they were trying for a baby together, until he uncovered the shocking truth. So I gave her a gift of my own, revenge she'll never forget. I've been married to Sophie for 2 years. She teaches English at a high school and is 30. I'm a 32-year-old mechanic, we lived a few blocks away from each other. She was the intelligent girl who won spelling bees and corrected teachers, always holding a book in her hand. I was the kid, covered in oil, barely making it through math class, repairing bikes in his dad's garage. Even though we were never close at the time, everyone saw her, including me. After high school, life took a different course. She left for college, I stayed behind, went to work, and used my hands to create something substantial. I never thought I'd see her again. However, she looks exactly like I remembered. But sharper and more confident. When I'm picking up a 6-pack at the store one day, she gave me her first smile, as if nothing had changed. From that point on, we began dating. Coffee, long drives, pancakes on Sunday mornings, and old music played too softly, nothing spectacular. A year later, I proposed to her. No major production. We were folding laundry when I said it. Without raising her gaze, she replied, yes. It was familiar. It has always seemed to me that I was a bit below her level. She reads 4 books a month, is intelligent, and has lively conversations with people twice her age. Me? I'm a decent man. Even though I show up and work hard, I've never been the center of attention in a room. Nevertheless, she chose me, and that was crucial. Early on, we made a commitment. No matter what it is, we don't yell, we don't slam doors or raise our voices. If at all possible, we discuss it in private. And even in difficult times, we have remained steadfast because of that rule. When we made the decision to start a family, the difficult part began. Initially, it was nothing at all. Like clockwork, month after month, all of the tests came back negative. A year later, we became concerned. We were simply exhausted after 2. I'm sick of counting down the days. I'm sick of well-intentioned counsel. I'm sick of people telling me to relax and it will happen. Sophie made an effort to remain composed. But I could see how it affected her. Quietly, she placed the blame on herself. Began to say things like, perhaps I'm the issue, or perhaps it's just not meant to be. That was awful to hear. We'll work it out, I told her repeatedly. How long it takes doesn't matter to me. Sophie came to me one evening with her laptop open, shortly after another test came back negative. A page from a modern-looking clinic was displayed. Not local, and most definitely not insured. As if unsure of how to start, she sat on the edge of the bed. According to her, they are conducting clinical trials. It's experimental, sort of, hormone treatment based on genes. They predict when you will ovulate, customize supplements, and alter everything about your body. This is top-tier material. I glanced at the screen. Testimonials, positive reviews, and success stories were presented as though they were speaking directly to us. They need an initial payment to get started, she said after hesitating. I realize that $20,000 is a lot. If I didn't think it could work, I wouldn't ask. My chest constricted at 20 grand. It was a leap, not just a stretch. However, I noticed that she was unable to look me in the eyes. I shared her intense desire for this. We'll figure something out, I said. I gave Dale a call that evening and accepted all of his painting jobs for the following 3 months. Rain or shine, weekends or evenings. With a thermos of black coffee in hand, I would leave the shop at 5, arrive at the site by 6, ascend scaffolding, and work until midnight, return home, take a quiet shower, collapse on the couch, and repeat the process. We began the course of treatment. Appointments, blood work, and medications that needed to be taken at specific times. She made me proud. Together, we were doing this. After 3 months, she approached me once more with the same anxious look and a quiet voice. She said, "They say I'm responding well. However, There is a better hormone blend at a later stage. It's an additional 20, increasing the chances. I nodded slowly and ran a hand through my hair without saying anything at first. I said, "Are you sure?" If I wasn't, I wouldn't inquire. The second 20 was more powerful. I cut out everything that wasn't food or bills, sold some old equipment, and worked harder on the weekends. On some days, I was so tired from driving that I could hardly see, but for the baby, I told myself repeatedly. After that, she smiled even more and allowed herself to dream again. Began using phrases like, "when the baby comes," rather than, "if." The third request followed 2 months later. A more recent protocol was recently added. "It's optional, but the outcomes have been amazing," she said, avoiding eye contact. "I swear, it's the last round, it's 20. What else could I do but sit there and stare at the floor for a while before nodding? I wanted this family because I loved her. I hoped that this would be the thing that would work at last." After attempting to conceive for $60,000, we eventually succeeded. She entered the kitchen one morning with the test in both hands and a frozen expression on her face. She handed it to me without saying anything. I gazed at the 2 pink lines, then at her. "Are you certain?" I shattered when she nodded. I just stood there, crying, in the center of the kitchen. I simply said, "You did it, we did it," repeatedly. I kept her from doing anything after that. I purchased 3 copies of What to Expect, prepared all of the meals, and drove her to all of her appointments. Every night, I talked to the bump and told our boy about the world that was waiting for him. I didn't think twice when she told me she was exhausted and wanted to leave work early in her pregnancy. I told her to quit. "I'll take care of the rest, you take care of yourself." I meant it. I was cleaning up after supper in the 6th month of my pregnancy when Sophie dozed off on the couch and a documentary was playing quietly. The screen of her laptop remained illuminated while it was open on the coffee table. I'm not sure what prompted me to look at it, perhaps it was God or instinct. A chat window with messages between her and a man named Simon was open. I had trouble understanding what I was reading at first. "How is my child doing today? Are you still kicking wildly?" She had responded. "He's quiet today, but I can tell he's growing up." I felt sick to my stomach. "I hope you're being looked after by your husband." "Yes, making an effort." I kept scrolling. Photos, messages, compliments, and discussions about her body, pregnancy, and postpartum plans were all present. My hands began to shake. I opened a new tab and looked up his name in her direct messages on Instagram. Doctor is Simon's full name. Simon Hayworth has the ideal jawline, TED Talks, Science Awards, and a blue check. The type of man she used to make jokes about never actually meeting. He was aware of her marital status. He inquired as to how well I was caring for her. My heart was thumping so hard that I thought it might burst my ribs as I sat there looking at the screen. I saw Sophie dozing on the couch with her hand on her stomach. It was my whole world in that one picture, but it was no longer mine. I didn't even wake her, let alone yell. I simply picked up my keys and left. I drove directly to my old shop buddy Jared's house. I didn't want Sophie to call me when she woke up, ask me where I was, cry, or act as though nothing was wrong. That's why I texted. At work, an urgent matter arose. "Tomorrow, I'll be at home." When you show up at Jared's door after dark with that expression on your face, he's one of the few people who doesn't ask dumb questions. Without a word, he opened the door, nodded, took out an extra blanket, and rearranged the couch. He immediately returned to his room and closed the door after that. For hours, I lay there gazing at the ceiling. If I fell asleep at all, I believe it was around 4 a.m. Still slammed, I sent Sophie a brief update the following morning. "Perhaps after tonight." After that, I started working. I made a burner account on Instagram and got to work. I found what I was looking for quickly. Simon wasn't particularly tactful. Staged conference photos, self-praise, and followers kissing his A in every comment were all over his public profile. He led a tidy, well-maintained life, as if his entire personality had been created in a laboratory. Then I located her. Gabby Hayworth, a psychologist. wife, and mother of 2 children. One of them I knew from a picture Sophie had liked half a year ago. She had also been following his family, but I was unaware of this at the time. I didn't want to visit her home, cause her children any distress, or surprise her while she was still in her pajamas. Dr. Gabrielle Hayworth, PsyD, a clinical psychologist with expertise in anxiety, couples therapy, and post-traumatic healing, was listed on the Our Team page when I searched for the name of the clinic where she worked. I called and introduced myself as a former client attempting to contact her regarding an urgent matter. I was given a direct line by the receptionist. My voicemail was left. About an hour later, she gave me another call. She spoke in a courteous but reserved tone. "Dr. Hayworth is here. Yes, hello, I'm Colin. I apologize for disturbing you. I am aware that this is very unexpected and personal, however, I must speak with you. It has to do with your husband." "Quiet, my husband?" she asked thoughtfully. "I believe you should see something I have for you." Another pause, this one more profound. When she spoke again, I could hear the change in tone. "What sort of thing?" "Messages and screenshots from a woman he has dated. Drama is not what I'm searching for. I simply believe that you should know the truth." "Are you implying that my spouse is having an affair?" "I am stating that I possess evidence that may provide answers to some of the questions you have likely been asking yourself." Once more, she was silent, only breathing. Finally, at noon, I take a half-hour lunch break. "Come see me at my office if you're not insane. I'll buzz you in, alright." Without saying goodbye, she hung up. Around noon, I pulled into the office complex. Her office was located on the second floor of a dull gray building, surrounded by chiropractors and dentists. Before getting inside, I spent 10 minutes sitting in my truck. My hands were perspiring. She was in her mid-30s. With blonde hair pulled back in a hurried bun. When we first met in the front lobby. "You look professional, but you're exhausted." She spoke in a cool but wary tone. "Are you calling?" she inquired. "Yes," I said. "I appreciate you meeting me." I followed her to her office. Soft lighting, warm hues, and a couch that no one wants to cry on but most likely has. Gently, she closed the door after us. "What's this about?" she asked, remaining clinical and courteous. I gave her the manila envelope after taking it out. Slowly, she opened it, images, screen grabs, and Sophie and Simon's conversation thread. "For example, how is my baby doing today? The sound of your voice makes him kick. I hope you're getting good care from your husband." "Yes, making an effort." At first, she just stared without responding. One hand then reached for her mouth, the other one gripped the chair's back. She said, "Wait, she's pregnant." 6 months, I said. Gabby sat as if her legs had given out. She's probably one of his patients. I always anticipated this day. It would be one of his patients one day. Her face was white as she continued to read. She shook her head as if she were attempting to clear her mind. Her eyes were controlled and sharp as she looked up at me. "How do we proceed?" "We hold them accountable," I said. She gave a nod. "I want the whole truth." Around 10, I arrived home. Sophie was reading a magazine while using a heating pad on the couch. She grinned as if nothing had changed as she looked up. I stood there observing her after dropping my keys on the counter. "Is everything all right?" she inquired. "Well, we must speak." Her grin dimmed. "What's happening?" "A paternity test is what I want." She blinked and chuckled, as if I had made a stupid joke. "Hold on, what?" "Sophie, I'm not playing." "Are you serious now?" "Come on, Colin, that's crazy." "Are you acquainted with Simon?" I inquired. She didn't even try to pretend when she froze, her mouth hanging open. "I saw all of your messages." Her voice rose as she began. "Why the hell were you?" "Don't flip it on me," I said. She sat down again after attempting to get to her feet. "He and I never shared a bed." I placed the printed screenshots on the coffee table after taking them out. He referred to the infant as his own. Her gaze shifted from them to me, her voice cracked as she said, "You went through my laptop. Considering all I did to look after you. You're repaying me by getting knocked up by someone else after I gave you everything I had and worked 2 jobs to have this child." Her eyes filled with tears. "That isn't the case, I wasn't dishonest. Do you think I'll believe that?" She said abruptly, "I used a donor. It had to do with medicine, he and I did not share a bed. I didn't think I could conceive with you, Colin. We made a lot of attempts, without speaking to me," I said slowly. "You're telling me you used a donor?" She gave a quick nod. "I didn't intend to cause you harm. Colin, all I wanted was a baby. How on earth did you know the donor was Simon if it was anonymous?" "He was my gynecologist," she said after pausing. "He said he had banked material and offered. He was healthy and intelligent, it just made sense. His genes were correct." I took a step back as if she had struck me. "You stole my money and did this behind my back." "I'll pretend it was ours." I was at a loss for words. "Sophie, you were aware. You simply didn't give a damn." I walked toward the door after turning. She leaped to her feet, grabbed my arm, and followed me. "Colin, please stop. Don't leave me like this. Don't walk away." I left without saying anything. Jared made the couch for me once more that evening. We went to the clinic together the following day to get the paternity test. Even when they called her name, I remained silent the entire time, not in the car, not in the waiting area. 2 days after the test results, I dropped her off at the hospital. The father was not me. Sophie fell to the ground. Her eyes were wide with panic as she looked up at me. Shaking her head, she said, "No, no, this isn't right, a mistake has been made. It's incorrect." I didn't move, I just stood. "Please, Colin, say something. We can redo it because they messed it up. We can fix this, I promise." I remained silent, though. Her voice cracked as she broke down in tears. "Colin, I didn't sleep with him, you are aware that it was a medical issue. I did it for the baby and for us." I turned and made my way to the door. "After me," she screamed. "Please," she cried. "I will stop at nothing because I love you." Without turning around, I opened the door. I knew I wasn't staying by the time I got home. I was halfway to my truck when I heard the tires screech up the driveway after packing a bag and stuffing 2 boxes with clothing and necessities. Her father, a large, red-faced man, hurried out of the car as if he were about to throw his hands. He yelled, "You're a piece of crap. You are ungrateful and selfish." I turned to him and closed the truck door. "After getting my daughter pregnant, you treat her like a piece of garbage and leave her behind. Who do you think you are, anyway? I think I'm the guy who just spent $60,000 raising someone else's child." He took a step toward her. "In good times and bad, you vowed to love and care for her. Now, you're fleeing like a young boy." "No," I said icily. "Like a man who has finally had enough of being used, I'm leaving." "Go to hell, I've been there before," I said. "The tour guide was your daughter." He didn't answer, simply stood there, clenching his jaw and breathing heavily. I didn't turn around as I drove away. Sophie's mother called me 3 times that evening. I was called a disgrace by her aunt via text. I didn't bother to listen to the voicemail her father left. Let them speak, I am aware of what I observed. I am aware of my experiences. I've finished introducing myself. I shared something on Facebook that day. It was a quiet punch to the gut without naming names or venting. There are moments when you believe you are creating a future with someone. As it happens, all you were doing was paying for their performance. I learned my lesson. I only needed to bleed somewhere, so I had low expectations. However, the post quickly gained traction. A few people, including friends, co-workers, and those who hardly knew us but had always felt strange, sent me private messages. Then I received the unexpected message, a former co-worker of Rachel M., Sophie, whose name I didn't recognize. "Hello Colin, after reading your post, I believe you should be aware of something. I wasn't sure if I should answer at first, but something caused me to hesitate. 20 minutes later, we met at a coffee shop. Looking over her shoulder, she felt anxious as if reaching out had been a mistake. I considered not telling you at all, she said, using both hands to hold her cup, but the truth is something you deserve. I simply nodded for her to continue without saying anything. Colin, Sophie was fired, I blinked. What? I take it she told you she left because she was pregnant? Slowly. I nodded. Rachel laughed a little bitterly. No, that isn't what took place. Months ago, she was asked to leave. Why? Parents and fathers of her students voiced their displeasure. She was acting inappropriately, according to some of them. I just sat there, feeling cold all over as I stared at her. Rachel cast her gaze downward. She lowered her voice and said, I'm sorry, Colin. According to some, she was requesting financial assistance in order to conceive. Thank you for meeting me, Rachel. I wasn't finished, but she hurried off, as if she had said too much already. Later that evening, I sent her a text. I need one more thing, Rachel. Are there any men whose names you know? After a moment, she answered. I can provide you with a few names, but they were rumors and nothing was verified. Just use caution. I got 4 from her. I looked them up one by one that evening. Each of them had a resume that was longer than my arm, Ivy League degrees, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Columbia, researchers, engineers, professors, and think tanks. Despite having different job titles, they all appeared to be the same guy, copied and pasted. Good suits, tall, white teeth, each profile photo appeared to have been taken for Forbes. Then one of them, Princeton biochemist Peter Mallory, jumped out. His wedding pictures were still up, but the wife was no longer in the more recent ones. I looked through the county court website. Yes, 6 weeks ago the divorce was finalized. I came across Emily Mallory, his ex-wife, on Facebook. I sent her a direct message after she rejected my friend request. Emily, I realize this is unexpected, but my name is Colin, and I believe that my wife, who is also my wife, lied to us both. That day, there was no response. However, she responded the following morning, saying, you have 15 minutes, that's all. At a park close to her workplace, we met. The whole time, she wore her sunglasses. You are the husband of Sophie, she stated bluntly. Yes, I am. She folded her arms. My marriage was ruined by your wife. I said, I'm not here to defend her. She also ruined mine. She paused. Her voice grew a little softer. All right, she said, talk, I want to know what actually happened. Sophie allegedly offered your ex money to help her conceive. Emily laughed without humor. You were unaware. I gave a headshake. According to Emily, she didn't merely offer. She gave him $10,000 in cash up front. The withdrawal was visible to me. I felt sick to my stomach. So it's true, I muttered. Did she pay men to be the father of her child? Emily concluded. Yes. The grass between my shoes caught my attention. Emily asked, she told you she used a donor. That everything was clinical and anonymous? She did. I glanced back up at her. Jesus. Would you be willing to testify that I may have committed fraud in my divorce filing? She grinned. I would adore doing so. I have the texts and bank statements. Hell, the envelope she used is still with me. I let out a breath. Thank you, I said. For a moment, Emily took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were tired now, not angry. I'm not dumb, she said. But when she wants something, she can be dangerous. I took note. When I climbed back into the truck, my hands were trembling. Shock, anger, and nervous tremors, clarity that doesn't feel like clarity at all, but is dead cold. Just fire beneath your skin and buzzing in your ears. 3 payments, 3 lovers. She told me it was for treatment 3 times while looking me in the eyes. I said, okay, 3 times. Because I believed I was creating something genuine. Because I trusted her, and because I loved her. $60,000, it wasn't for the possibility of becoming a parent, hormones, or supplements. In order to purchase her ideal child, she had to purchase biological material from strangers. I sat behind the wheel and gripped it so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My goodness, as if my body knew before my brain did. My vision became blurry. This was heartbreak attempting to escape my chest, not anger. Without even looking at the traffic, I pulled out of the lot. I didn't notice the flashing red light. A woman entered the crosswalk as I slammed on the brakes after rolling straight through the intersection. She screamed and raised her arms. I missed her by inches after making a sharp right turn. My tires made a screech sound. Another vehicle in the opposite direction honked and swerved to stay clear of me. I almost cut a mailbox. At an angle, the truck jerked to a stop. I was trembling all over. I sat there, panting as if I had just been in a collision. Because I had, on an emotional level. A few minutes later, I grabbed my phone and began writing. I sent messages to Sophie's entire family. Private messages, group chats, her parents, aunts, and cousins. You all think I abandoned her without warning, but you're mistaken. Sophie lied to everyone, including me. She paid several men to conceive her. She paid her lovers with the money I gave her for fertility treatments. Not mine, but the baby. I sent everything I had, including screenshots, bank statements, and Emily's voice memos. Within minutes, her mother began to respond, "You are an abhorrent liar." Her dad, "You're mentally ill. This family believes that you are dead, you'll be sorry." Her cousin. "Allow them to vent and talk." I was honest. A few hours later, I heard tires screeching while I was in the garage replacing a Chevy's water pump. In her high heels, Sophie bounded into the store. Her face was red, her hair was a mess, and she was furious. She yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you? You embarrassed me, you told my family." I straightened up, cleaned my hands, and fixed my gaze on her. "Sophie, what did you think I would do? Keep quiet and accept it? You were not entitled." "No right," I gave a snap. "After everything you've done, you have no right to speak. After I painted houses to pay for your bullshit treatment, you paid men to defraud you behind my back." With a finger in my face, she took a step closer. "They had nothing to do with that. As soon as you gave them the impression that I was the baby's father, it became their concern." She paused. There was something darker beneath the anger that flushed her face. Then she gave me a direct look and said it. "Instead of your weak, foolish genes, I wanted my child to have good ones, The air died and there was silence. At first, I just stared at her, my heart racing, my jaw locked, without saying anything. "You finally said it," I said softly after exhaling, "what you have always believed." As if she had something nasty locked and loaded, she opened her mouth. Then abruptly grabbed her abdomen, her face turned white. She sat up a little. I went cold. "I think something's wrong, Sophie," she exclaimed. "It is painful." I picked up my phone, dialed emergency, and explained the situation to the dispatcher. I didn't follow them out or ride with her when the ambulance arrived. As I stood there, I watched the taillights go out of sight. That baby wasn't mine, and she wasn't my wife anymore. I left the folder of fresh evidence on my lawyer's desk when I entered her office the following morning. "Let's get this done," I said. When I gave Marla Reed the file, she read it without smiling. She simply turned the pages with a calmness that indicated she had seen worse, but not by much. Her voice was direct and sharp when she looked up at last. "What are your plans for her?" I took a seat in front. Now my hands were steady. The trembling had ceased. "I want her to be permanently gone, I want consequences, and I want the truth on paper." Marla gave one nod. "We don't simply file for divorce after that, we expand." The air conditioner hummed behind her as she laid everything out. "First, the divorce, no more games, quick, complete disclosure, it wasn't a lie, then, that the civil suit for fraud. 60 grand under false pretenses was filed. It was actionable under the law. She claimed that Sophie turned a medical lie into an emotional story, which turned it into both a financial and personal scam. The emotional distress suit was then added, and she claimed that the degree of manipulation that allowed me to form a bond with a child that wasn't mine was extreme. We could also fight for that. She would also have no trouble pushing for criminal charges if there was any indication of improperly recorded payments or misused medical channels. I nodded while sitting there, my jaw clenched as I took it all in. Is she going to lose everything? I inquired. Without blinking, Marla said. If we do this right, yes, she might. I sat in court and waited for 3 weeks. Sophie arrived accompanied by her parents, older sister, aunt, and, I believe, her college roommate. They were all sitting erect, their lips pressed together, staring at me as if I were the jerk who had broken their golden girl. When she sat down, she appeared arrogant, as if the army behind her was evidence of her innocence. Marla and I Saturday, we remained silent. The judge shuffled papers as he sat down. The case was called by the bailiff. Calm and steady, Marla stood. We are ready to proceed with the exhibits and testimony, Your Honor. We have financial records, digital evidence, and a third-party sworn affidavit. A gray-haired man with a quiet voice, Sophie's lawyer, attempted to speak. Marla cut him clean, and although my client acknowledges that she made mistakes in judgment, she never meant to. She stole $60,000, the money was for fertility treatment, she said. Rather, she obtained reproductive material from other men through 3 different private agreements that were all off the books. There was a whisper in the courtroom. Sophie's mother spoke to her husband in a whisper. Her sister had a perplexed expression. Marla went on, we have correspondence between the defendant and Dr. Simon Hayworth, one of the men involved, that suggests a physical and emotional bond, including references to the unborn child as his. She gave the packet to the judge. After reading silently, he turned to face Sophie. I must speak with you directly, Mrs. Palmer. Did you give your husband false information about your child's parentage? Sophie cleared her throat. No, I didn't lie, really, I simply didn't know how to be honest with him. You acknowledge that he is not the biological father, then? Yes, she said quietly as she heard gasps behind her. Her mother covered her mouth as her sister shook her head. The judge continued. And you gave these people cash payments directly? She stumbled, it wasn't like that. I had to be desperate, we were unable to conceive. All I wanted was a child. Marla got back up, we also have a signed affidavit from one of the men's former wives. Your Honor, attesting to a $10,000 cash payment and the subsequent dissolution of the marriage. He looked back at Sophie. Did you pay him to help you get pregnant? I believed it to be the sole option, she said, her voice broke. Colin's genetic makeup was weak. I wanted my child to have the best chance possible, I made a snap decision. Sophie's father rose. What are you? Loud, he said, he treated her as though she were a complete stranger. You told us all lies. I didn't mean to offend you, Dad, I was at a loss for what to do. Next to her, her mother stood silently and shook her head, I am unable to watch this. Together, they departed. After 2 minutes, her sister, aunt, and roommate came next. Sophie realized the bench behind her was empty when she turned around and attempted to speak again. She was by herself. The judge spoke calmly when he made his decision. This court rules in favor of the plaintiff based on the testimony records and the defendant's own admission. He gave the paper a quick glance before turning to face me. Full divorce granted, dissolution instantaneous, in addition, $68,450 in damages, verified transfers, and legal fees must be paid back to the plaintiff by the defendant. Sophie turned pale. The judge gave her one final glance. The degree of emotional manipulation in this case is noted by the court. You let a whole family join in the lie in addition to lying to your husband. Then he struck the gavel, that was it. Sophie remained silent. She remained motionless, alone with a hand on her stomach. She watched the last positive thing in her life leave the courtroom without turning around. I didn't grin. I refrained from boasting, I simply left without incident. A month passed. I didn't intentionally give her much thought, life became hectic once more. Bills were paid, the shop was stable, and I was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. However, people converse. You'd be surprised at how many people in this area know one another or know someone who knows someone. The first was a typical one. Like clockwork, an older man comes in for an oil change. "Hey, didn't your wife work at Roosevelt High?" he said, leaning on the counter. I shrugged a little. "It used to." He looked awkward as he nodded. "What happened is a shame. Rumor has it that they have yet to allow her to re-enter." Many parents created noise. Later that week, as I was preparing her receipt, a second customer, a mother of two who drives a white Subaru, brought it up. "You mean Sophie?" At the pharmacy, I ran into her. "She has a rugged appearance, according to what I've heard. She is 8 months pregnant and unemployed. Even for desk jobs, no one will hire her. Her parents also refuse to communicate with her." I gave her the receipt and nodded. Piece by piece, it's been like that. As it happens, Sophie is living alone in a studio that she rents and is barely making ends meet. She has lost all of her savings. She's not a teacher. She won't be touched. She's applying for any kind of administrative work. However, nobody desires the scandal. She is unemployed, alone, and 8 months pregnant. She continues to claim that it was all a misunderstanding, based on what I've heard. Well, she did get what she wanted, did she not? The ideal child, with ideal genes. No family, no friends, no job, and no father. However, those genes are at least very good. I sometimes question whether she still thinks it was worthwhile. I don't.